I hit a point where the clutter wasn't just in my house, it was in my head. There were too many tabs open in my brain, too many piles I kept stepping over, and too many "I'll deal with it later" corners weighing me down. I didn't need a massive overhaul or some dramatic decluttering challenge. I just needed space, physical and mental, to think clearly again. In this video, I'll walk through how I created that space, step by step, in a way that actually worked for real life. No pressure, no perfection, just a quieter way to reset. Clear the cloud, not just the clutter. It didn't hit me how much my phone was stressing me out until I realized I was avoiding my own inbox, not because of the emails, but because of how heavy it all felt. Most of us are constantly on without meaning to be. Notifications, scattered files, tabs we forgot to close. It's not just visual clutter, it's mental. So even if your home is clean, your head still feels full. That's why I now treat digital cleanup as part of any real decluttering reset. For a few hours, I'll sit down and delete what doesn't serve me: old screenshots, unused apps, newsletters I don't even open. I'll move photos into folders or send them to print, so they're not just floating in a void. I even take breaks from certain apps if I notice I'm scrolling more than I'm breathing. Start small, one category, one evening, one device. But don't skip it. The lightness you feel after clearing out your digital world is just as real. Next, let's talk about why trying to do it all at once usually backfires. Loosen the rules or lose the rhythm. If I've learned anything about decluttering, it's this: the more rigid the plan, the more likely I'll give up. When I first tried a decluttering challenge, I thought I had to do it right. Follow the exact steps, hit every daily target, push through no matter what. But life doesn't work that way, especially not with kids' work and random Tuesday meltdowns. So I changed the rules. Some days I decluttered nothing. Other days I got rid of 30 things in an hour. I skipped rooms that didn't need it and spent more time in the ones that did. I gave myself permission to rest and then come back with more clarity. The real progress happened when I stopped measuring it by how fast I was going and focused instead on how much lighter I felt. Let's keep going with the next habit shift. When you're ready, I'll move on. Group first, decide later. One thing that used to trip me up, trying to declutter random drawers or bins that had everything mixed together: receipts, cables, lip balm, scissors, coupons. I'd sit down to declutter but end up moving the mess around instead of letting it go. The problem wasn't the stuff. It was the confusion. What helped was grouping similar things before deciding. All cords in one pile, all pens in one cup, all paper in one box. Suddenly, it was obvious which ones were useful and which ones were just extras. The emotional clarity came when I wasn't jumping between categories. When things belong to the same group, it's easier to see what feels useful and what feels like noise. It's a small mental shift, but a huge energy saver. Next up, I'll talk about the exit strategy that used to slow me down more than anything else. Don't let the door become a bottleneck. You know what used to derail my entire decluttering rhythm? The pile by the door. I'd do all the work, sort through closets, fill donation bags, even load the car. And then those bags would sit there for days, sometimes weeks. Why? Because I kept telling myself I had to sell things, donate them the right way, or make sure every item went to its perfect next home. That pressure to make it perfect made it hard to let go. Eventually, I had to choose simplicity over strategy. I set a deadline. If it wasn't sold or claimed within a week, it went straight to donation. I stopped micromanaging where everything ended up and focused on how good it felt to have it gone. Letting go is already hard enough. Don't let logistics become another form of clutter. When you hit a wall, shrink the task. There were days when I hit a wall halfway through. I'd start strong, full of momentum, and then life would happen. Dinner needed to be made, someone got sick, or I just lost the will to keep going. For a long time, I thought that meant I'd failed. Now I build in a fallback plan. When I lose steam, I don't try to restart the big project. I just do one micro reset: gather trash in a bag, wipe one surface, put 3 things back where they belong. That tiny action reminds me I haven't quit. It creates a little ripple of progress, even when my day's a mess. You don't have to finish to move forward. A reset can be 2 minutes. It's enough. Now let's talk about how to make decisions less painful, especially with the things that carry emotional weight. Ask what's quietly bothering me. At first, I tried to declutter based on numbers: hit a certain goal each day, clear a set amount of stuff. But that just left me staring at piles, unsure where to even begin. What helped was picking one room at a time, not all at once, not randomly. Just one space with one purpose, make it feel lighter. Some days, that meant tackling the entryway drawer that always jammed. Other times, it meant standing in the garage for 10 minutes and just throwing out what was clearly trash. I didn't wait for the perfect moment. I just asked, what space is quietly bothering me the most today? And I started there. It sounds small, but it adds up. One focused space feels better than 10 half-finished ones. Next, I'll share the mindset that helped me part with the things I kept avoiding, especially the ones tied to guilt or old versions of myself. Are you keeping it for the life you don't live? Some things are easy to toss. Others feel heavier, not because we use them, but because they carry some version of who we thought we'd be. For me, it was the dress I hadn't worn in 5 years, the kitchen gadget I kept, just in case, the gift from a family member that I didn't like but felt guilty giving away. None of it fit my current life, but I kept it out of guilt, pressure, or fantasy. What finally helped was asking a few simple questions. Have I used this in the last year? Do I already have something that does the same job? Am I keeping this out of obligation, or because it still fits who I am right now? If it wasn't serving the life I'm actually living, not the life I thought I might live someday, it went. That shift made space for who I am today, not who I was trying to impress or become. Make it stupidly easy to put away. Even after decluttering, I noticed some spaces would get messy again, fast. Not because I was doing anything wrong, but because the setup was awkward. The lid was annoying to take off. The bin was too far away. The thing I used every day was hidden in the back. So now, I take 5 minutes to notice where I keep pausing or avoiding a task. Then I ask, what would make this stupidly easy to put away? Sometimes it means an open basket instead of a drawer, or keeping scissors in more than one room. The goal isn't perfection, it's removing friction. Make it so easy that keeping things tidy doesn't take willpower. This is what helps decluttering actually last, not just feel like a temporary high. Up next, I'll share how going through a space twice made even more things click. The second pass always sees more. There were days when I swore I had nothing left to let go of. I'd walk through a room I had already decluttered and think, nope, I'm done. But a few days later, fresh eyes, different mood. I'd see a dozen things I didn't even notice the first time. That's the thing about decluttering. The first round clears the obvious. The second round clears the hesitations. So now I plan for it. I come back to each space a second time after a break, after a reset, even after a snack. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Just a quick revisit with less pressure. And almost every time I find something, I'm finally ready to let go of. Letting go isn't a one-and-done task. It's a practice. In the final segment, I'll share the small shift that made the entire process feel lighter, especially during weeks when life got messy. A quiet way to stay on track. I don't always follow through, especially when no one's watching. That's just the truth. So instead of pretending I'd stay consistent on willpower alone, I built in quiet accountability, nothing intense. Just a simple paper tracker on the fridge. Some days I'd write down what I got rid of. Other days I'd just check a box. But seeing that little progress added up gave me the nudge to keep going. If you're more of a phone person, use your Notes app. If you've got a friend doing something similar, check in once a week. You don't need pressure. Just something small that reminds you this matters. Because when you're juggling everything else, even the best intentions slip through. A little structure keeps them from disappearing. What started as a way to clear out my home turned into something much quieter, just making space to breathe again. Even small shifts, one drawer, one folder, one skipped rule can take the edge off when life already feels full. And when your space feels lighter, your days do too. That's really the whole point. If this video helped at all, feel free to like or subscribe. It lets me know this kind of content matters to you too.